Good morning, everybody. It is another Tuesday, and you know what that means. These fellas across from me, with all of their business and sales knowledge, are here to impart their wisdom. It's Breakfast with Bill. Boys, how are we doing this morning?
Hey, good morning,
Great.
Evan. Thanks for bringing us in. Matt, thanks for being back.
Thank you.
It's so great to have my sidekick and co-host here with me. He's like my Ed McMahon. Matt's probably too young to know who that is. So today we're going to be a little short and sweet. We're not going to go on any frolics and detours like we do some Tuesdays. We have 12 minutes of high-intensity discussion for you because we have an 8:15 client commitment. So today we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics, and that's happy years.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, you ever have discussions with folks that might be suffering from happy years?
Yeah, happy years are absolutely rampant, unfortunately, in sales.
Yeah.
It's very easy to come back from a meeting and the telltale signs went great. We hit it off. We really built rapport. All the great buying signs. The meeting felt really, really good.
They went to the same school I went to, or their kids did, participated in the same AAU clubs I did. And happy years come into play when we have this social connection, when we have this personal connection with people. And we're going to be more subject to suffer from happy years if we're an emotional person, right? So if any of you have done DISC, in the world of DISC, if you're an I or a high energy D that has a high I with them, you're going to be more prone to happy years, especially when you get across from someone else who's very emotive, someone else who likes to connect with people. And, we can have these great connections, great discussions. In the moment, it feels like we're really making advances and we're really connected and we're really close to the other person. And then when we step away and we call our manager and we say, it was a great meeting. And they say, well, why? And we can't give any clear next step, and we can't give decision-making process, and we can't give need. That's a clear sign that we had happy years in that meeting.
Absolutely. And I think what really comes into play with happy years is the lack of a clear next step, the lack of what happens next. It feels great in the moment, and we've all had those sales cycles. We walk away, we're feeling great, and then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by. Well, I really hit it off with Bill. We really felt good together. All the buying signs. He said he was going to call me back, but what happened? So I think what we need to do is when we come back from a meeting, or if we're a sales manager, we're evaluating meetings very objectively.
Right.
It's less about feeling and more about what we found out, whether it's BANT or newly FANT.
No, FANT, yeah, financial authority, need, and timeline. And happy years can derail a sales cycle like nothing else. And the reason we fall into happy years is when somebody says to us questions like, how quick can we get going?
Mm-hmm.
How fast can you move? And as a salesperson, we're like, whoa, baby, here we go, right? And we hit the accelerator and we abandon process. Because when somebody says to us, how fast can you go? We're like, we could be ready Monday. And we forget to ask them all the questions about what has to happen. And Matt, you always like to talk to those you coach, and I love listening to you say this. We have to slow down and speed up, right? So when somebody says, how fast can you go? It's easy to tell them, yeah, we can go pretty quick. But before we get there, let's talk about why do you want to do this, right? And we love to find out why now and why us, the two most important things that really help us understand if somebody's serious about moving forward, right? Why now versus any time in the past, and why us versus everyone else in the marketplace.
And slowing down to speed up, yes, that's one of my favorite, I guess we call them isms.
Right.
Because ultimately we are going to slow down. In that example, we're not going to hear back from them for 2 weeks, and then we're going to be in that chasing and that spiral. And I think many of us could probably look at our pipelines as we get towards the end of the year and see happy years in there. And now we start to press, we start to chase, we start to try to regain momentum. So any moment that it's feeling great in a sales cycle, slow down, dig in, and just ask yourself or ask the client, what happens next? Do I have clarity of what happens next? I always talk about it's okay to go negative.
Yep.
And it's one of the...
Not just for us, but for their benefit.
Absolutely. If you want to talk about that.
Well, no, I was just thinking how, when we do have happy years, oftentimes it comes from the buyer having happy years, right? The person we're across the table from, when they're emotive, when they're excited, when there's somebody who's more emotional, they can look at us and be like, hey, this is great. How quick do we go? And this is awesome. Yeah, that price won't be a problem. And then they step away from that meeting and they start thinking about, I really should talk to so-and-so. And I really should get some other buy-in. And, I might want to get a price from whomever so that, when I'm
or it's over my threshold and I need to get someone else involved. And so I think when we talk about that, we have to be able to slow down in that moment and, think ahead. It's about being proactive. Someone that has a relationship, that's great. I appreciate those kind words, that sentiment that, you would love to go with us and we'd love to move quick. But you've had a relationship for 15 years. What's it going to sound like when you alert your incumbent that we're going a different direction, right?
So you can't ask that question if you have happy years.
Correct.
Right? That's an incredible staying in the moment, controlling your emotions question of, boy, we're excited, ready to get rolling just as quick as you are, but you said you've been working with this guy for 15 years. What's that conversation going to sound like? What are you going to say when he asks you about how this happened? What are you going to say to him when he says, 15 years, can I get a second chance?
Lower the price, change the scope. And oftentimes that's when they come back and say, we're sticking with them. We're going to give them a chance. We're going to reevaluate after a couple months.
But it's not what they told us in the meeting, right?
Correct.
Those follow-up conversations are never the same as when we were all excited and we were hyped up and we were, connected and talking about how we're going to go do this together and we're going to go fish together. And I don't fish, but, we're going to go golf together or whatever it might be. We have these great personal connections. And then we have silence. And it's all because we abandoned the process. We got excited. We let our happy years get in the way. We forgot to ask great questions about what happens next. We forgot to ask them about their buying process. We forgot to ask about who's involved. We forgot to ask about why now and why us. Right? We have to stay disciplined. As Matt says, pump the brakes, stay in the moment, slow it down so that we can eventually speed it up. When we go real fast in the beginning, things go real slow on the back end.
They do. And, I think when we think about it, asking those questions and being able to slow down is a mark of a really, really good salesperson. And there's no better time to get that information when we are hitting it off. Rapport is not a bad thing. We talk about agenda setting. I think sometimes rapport is a comfort blanket for most at the beginning of a meeting. But if you are hitting it off, if that person is like you, if you are making those connections, what better time to live in discovery, to go through that process? Because it's really hard to chase, to get momentum back, to talk about, hey, we were feeling good in an email after they went cold.
That's right.
And a lot of salespeople try to do that. So be in the moment, stay there, understand what happens next, get a clear next step. If they really are feeling that good about you and your service or your product, and you have a clear next step, no one's going to say no.
That's right. What Matt's talking about is so true, because in that moment, when you are connected with somebody, when they are feeling that love, if you will, when we have that emotional connection, they're going to share more information with you at that moment than any other time in the cycle. So it's the best time to ask for it. And then the thing I think that Matt's preaching and I'm asking you to think about is when happy years start to kick in, what we need to have is emotional discipline. Excuse me. Emotional discipline that allows us to stay in the moment and allows us to say, okay, that's great, but not get caught up in the waves of emotion and say, I still need more facts, right? I still need to go on my fact-finding tour here and stay down the path of process, stay down that track of discovery, stay down that track of helping them discover what needs to happen next for this to work. Because people that get excited, those people that share that emotion with us, the buyers that have happy years and are ready to go tomorrow, they don't always know what has to happen next. So it's not malicious, right? It's just they're excited. They truly want to move with us. And then they go back and they go to legal or they go to finance and they go to wherever, and they start getting hit with questions they weren't ready for, like, oh, did you get to other prices? And who else have you talked to? And have you checked references? And what's their service actually look like? And at that point, they feel a little embarrassed,
Mm-hmm.
which is why things slow down afterwards, which is why they go cold, which is why they stay a little remote from us, because they don't want to come back to us and be like, oh, yeah, I still want to go, but like,
We have 13 other people in the process
right?
now.
Yeah. And Larry wants me to do an RFP, and I've never done an RFP. So let's help them in the beginning. Let's help them while things are great, while they're loving us. And when they're showing us the love, they're going to share information with us.
We can't underestimate helping them walk through their own process, because we do this every day. We sell our product or service every single day.
Mm-hmm.
More oftentimes than not, the people that we coach, who they're selling to, does not go through the process every day.
That's
So
right.
that was really important, what Bill hit on. And so when we're in that moment, when we're hitting it off, when we feel like we're getting happy ears, dig in. Dig your heels in, stay there as long as you can, and most importantly, get a clear next step. Understand what happens next, because all of us as salespeople, 5 weeks, I don't know what we're at now, we can probably look at our pipeline and pinpoint where we've had happy years,
That's right.
because we don't have a clear next step. And now we're at the backstop of the year, the end of the year, when many people are at their fiscal or going to start getting busier with holidays. So take a look at your pipeline, see where you had happy years, and let's try to re-engage.
Great point. And, if you're a sales manager out there, by the way, if your people have happy years, it's your fault, because you have an opportunity at the end of every cycle to ask them, at the end of every call to ask them what happens next. And if they leave appointments without clear next steps, if they're talking to you about all the great emotion and connection, but don't have the discovery details that you need from them, this is where you start exercising some discipline. This is where you start making that expected. And this is where you start holding them accountable, and you create that culture of discovery, that culture of accountability. So as we conclude here, we told you it would be short today. A couple takeaways. Remember, emotional discipline. Have that emotional discipline to feel the good vibes, but don't get too excited with them to abandon the process.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in the moment with the process and get all the discovery we need. Identify clear next steps. And what we'd like to ask you today is do a little homework. So as Matt mentioned, go back, and it could be an opportunity that's in your current pipeline or an opportunity you lost in the past, and do a little debrief on it, right, with yourself. And maybe you take this to your manager and say, here's an opportunity where I went in, I let my happy years take control. I abandoned the process early. I got off the tracks, and as a result, I lost the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you take a look at that, you debrief from these real opportunities, you'll start to learn, you'll start to grow, and you'll become less susceptible to happy years in the future. So let's have a great day. I'm sorry, you had something else?
Just one thing real quick. I know we have to jump, and if it's still a live opportunity, don't be afraid to fall on your sword a little bit. Now that we're getting to the end of the year, is this still something that we want in 2020? I apologize. It's on me. We lost momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Can we still get this done, or is it falling into 2021? And if it is, get a clear next step. You've re-engaged with some momentum. So reach out to your pipeline that's still unclosed.
Great point. All right, gang. Have a great day. Thanks for your time today. Let's go and have some emotional discipline today and win some deals. God bless. Take care.
Thank you.